And secondly, just as a realpolitik thing, you have to listen when BlackRock comes to the market. They're the largest ETF issuer in the world. They're very careful. They're very connected. And I would be lying if I didn't say that that was an important signal as well. Bitwise has been committed to bringing a spot Bitcoin ETF to market for 4 or 5 years now. We're committed to being amongst the first pack. So those two factors are what changed the game. And we're now optimistic there is a pathway forward.
David, we can't talk about digital money without talking about blockchain. That is essentially the technology backing it. Talk to us about the potential of blockchain in financial services.
Sure. I challenge one thing. I'm not sure blockchain is essential for digital money, even though I come from that. I think what blockchain did was got us all to think differently about how we did things. Importantly, to give you my perspective, and this isn't a sales pitch, but I've had 40 years in Wall Street in various roles, and I've owned broker-dealers. I'm a registered securities rep. And I was really inspired by Bitcoin, and I thought, wow, this technology can do things we haven't been able to do in the past. It can solve the trust problem. What I see is what you see. It can be appended but not amended. It can be permission-based so that only actors that have the right to do certain things can do certain things. So we can get rid of reconciliation. We can use advanced cryptology in distributed ways to have higher security. So it opened up a whole plethora of opportunities that have actually taken longer to take hold than I thought. I've been at this for 8 years now. But from my perspective, financial markets fundamentally work. They're imperfect in many, many ways. And I looked at this technology as a way to improve upon that. And we're beginning to see some real, production-based systems. The SDX issues digital bonds that are truly digitally native, and you can settle them now with wholesale CBDC from the Swiss National Bank. You have creative firms like HQLAX, which tokenize underlying collateral for collateral swaps and balance sheet management. The Italian banking system runs on our product, Corda. We've made decisions around a private permission ledger because we always felt that the regulatory regime as it exists today fundamentally works. It's developed over 100 years and it can be applied to this new technology. From the private sector, I can speak a little more bluntly probably in some ways. The public sector gives maybe more credence to crypto than I ever would by talking about it as an asset. When fundamentally, it's not the vast majority, almost all crypto coins that have been issued have been fundamentally about issuing a white paper and founders taking money off of the table. We've heard many speakers today talk about the nefarious usage of crypto. Calling them assets is concerning. And also, I can't tell you how many painters in my house or valets or folks that have come into contact and maybe they Google you and they think blockchain is crypto. And actually, Corda is a distributed ledger technology. We don't use blocks. It's inefficient for regulated finance, so we're not going to actually have blockchains underpinning our financial infrastructure. They express how, hey, I have half of my retirement savings in a combination of XRP, Dogecoin, and God knows whatever coin. So it's been really concerning for me, and I think that the regulators have been a bit slow to address it. Now, with any new technology innovation like the internet, there's amazing potential for us to reinvent money, and we're doing a lot of work there with Project Jura, Project Dunbar, and we mentioned the project out of Singapore a little bit earlier. And we can see clear paths to improve international payments, domestic payments, purpose-bound money for social good. There's a lot of good stuff that can come out of this, but as a community, we have to be very aware of the dark side. And I think those things can be addressed more forcefully. And I don't consider crypto money. And just one other thing is I'm not going to claim to be the greenest person in the world, but the fact that Bitcoin, when I last checked, consumed more energy than the country of New Zealand, and we can all go crazy about what's happening out of COP and then just ignore that this thing exists that burns that kind of energy and is used for nefarious means, as we know primarily, in my opinion. We shouldn't ignore this thing.
I think we're in the middle of an ongoing crime. I've no idea how long it's going to last. I'm convinced that it will be the biggest crime in history. It's global. It has the intent of control, removing everybody's freedom, and I personally think will involve killing further millions, if not billions of people. That makes it a pretty big competitor for the title worst crime in history. It is long planned. I won't bore you with the details, but I've definitely come across information that shows that the components of the deceit that they've used, PCR, exaggerated PCR testing, the use of fear-based messaging through the media, this stuff's been rehearsed by militaries and the people we might think of as the spooks for at least 25 years and possibly longer. So it's long planned, very serious. Here's the thing, why I'm calling you to arm. It's not going to return to the old normal. One, that's never their intention. So it's not going to happen passively because there isn't an actual phenomenon that's going to wear off. They're not going to allow it to return to normal. So if you comply with this tyranny, it will end with the loss of your liberty and probably your life. The supply chains that move materials, raw materials and finished goods around the world are being sawn through on a global scale. You've only got to look at where the shipping is, where it should be and where it actually is. And terrifyingly, the same is happening to food production worldwide, food and fertilizer production. It's in the wrong place. It's deliberate. They're smashing the means of manufacturing enough calories to keep 7.8 billion people alive. And, where do you think that's going to end? Well, the answer is mass starvation, war, global migration. That's what's going to happen if you and everybody else choose to do nothing at all. Also, economic destruction we can see happening around us. Interest rates will rise on the back of huge debts. That will just cause mass bankruptcies, rolling recessions, depressions, things like that. And I would also imagine loss of confidence in the very thing called money. So any savings you've got, I think they'll just vanish. Literally, people will just say, I no longer trust sterling. I don't want to accept it. And so all your savings are now worth nothing. So if you wait, I believe it'll be too late. I think you already know that I'm broadly telling you something that's closer to the reality than what government's telling me. But I believe that we can head off the worst crimes in history by actively withdrawing our consent and definitely not accepting these digital ID for any reason. If you accept it, they will sweep over us. And so just in the last few words, I implore you to get involved, to use some of what I and others are saying to you. Be brave, actually. You have to be brave now and risk embarrassment and recruit other people to this cause, and we can roll them over.
The technology now is, and digital technologies mainly have an analytical power. Now we go into a predictive power, and we have seen the first examples, and your company very much involved into it. But then the next step could be to go into a prescriptive mode, which means you do not even have to have elections anymore, because you can already predict, and afterwards you can say, why do we need elections? Because we know what the result will be.
I think that the crypto world that I'm now a part of doesn't really understand the scale of these ETFs and doesn't understand the kind of the wall of money that potentially could be coming into Bitcoin. And just to give you a number, I asked a friend of mine who's in crypto, who's pretty active, wrote a couple books on Bitcoin, he's pretty active in the podcasting, Mark Jeffrey. I said, Mark, what would you estimate the size of the global ETF market? And he's like, I don't know, $1 trillion. I said, what if I told you there's $10 trillion of ETFs? So that number is kind of crazy, right? If you think about it. And what's even more crazy is that number was 300 billion in 2000, right? So right around when I left Wall Street, it was 300 billion. So it's grown from 300 billion to 10 trillion. So there's not some sort of cycle, theoretical, like what if the property market became tokenized? What if people, this is like active ETFs that are trading today. It's a $10 trillion market, and it's, primarily in our jurisdiction. It's in the U.S., European jurisdiction. So this is not, stocks that are trading in China or anything like that. This is, ETFs run by, I think BlackRock itself has about $6 trillion in ETFs right now, just to give you the scale of the market. So I just don't think that people in the crypto world understand that there's, $10 trillion of actual movable money. And the way that this money is kind of allocated is also very different from, I would say the way that crypto people think about buying and selling, or degens think about investing now. So it's really allocated in a very passive investing strategy.
Months. Likely
2
approval
months.
next month. 45
I
days
think
after
next
that.
month we'll get the approval. I mean, hopefully, right? Unless Gary Gensler's got some kind of, torpedo ready to kind of just blow us all up. But no, I think January 8th, 29 days from today, I think January 8th is we're going to have the ETF approval, Jan 8th.
And then you have 45 days until it starts trading after that, correct?
Well, we don't know. Do you know? I have not seen any definitive anything on that.
That's what I've heard. I do not know for sure.
Yeah, but some of these other ETFs have started trading in the week.
Really?
Yeah, like these Bitcoin futures ETFs, they've traded a week. Not even. Like they were announced on Friday, they started trading on Monday.
Could be the case.
But that, look, on Jan, once they announce that thing, okay, man, that's when the checkered flag starts and the races are going, right? That's it. So we are very close to the beginning of the Indy 500 here, We are very close. Gentlemen, start your engines, you know what I mean? Because that is like, is there going to be an ETF? Well, they just announced that there is going to be an ETF. So yeah, there is going to be an ETF. Okay. So Bitcoin's not a security? No, Bitcoin's not a security. Okay, so, well, in the prospectus it said that still might be, yeah, well, they put that in to cover themselves, right? But we are a month away from that revelation. And then once that hits, these firms are just going to like, okay, what PR campaign what's the ad campaign? Great, let's put a billboard out on Times Square. Can you see that? I can just see it right now.
Yeah.
Larry Fink, Bitcoin ETF, full Times Square, multiple billboards on Times Square, you're going to see
whole pages of advertisements and barons.
I mean, you're going to turn CNBC on, and it'll be the Bitcoin ETF. They should change it to the Bitcoin ETF channel, okay?
If you can't handle $1,000, you can't handle $1 billion. All right, so I highly encourage everyone to go out and read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, read Killing Sacred Cows, educate yourselves, and prepare, because you are right now already rich.
And what we're seeing, though, is that the regulators aren't always winning in court. And this is a big change. So you may be aware, for example, of the SEC v. Ripple case. Right? I won't go into the details here, but this was really a sort of mind-blown moment for many in the space, and probably for the regulators as well, that it came out that way. And we have, of course, judges with differences of opinions, even within the same district. Right? So we have Judge Rakoff in another case, which is SEC versus Do Kwon, which came to a different sort of rationale from the Ripple case, but at a different stage on different facts. We're seeing things, whether it relates to DeFi, where judges, very important judges, in fact, the same judges that are hearing the Tornado Cash case, and also SEC v. Coinbase, where in a private action against Uniswap Labs, right, and some various other parties, they said, actually, SEC, you're behind in DeFi. This is a matter for Congress. And also, why would we hold a company like, for example, a provider like PayPal or Venmo liable for acts that occurred by third parties using their systems? So it's a very interesting space, just even staying within securities.
Again, don't fuck this up. Just be careful. Just buy, hold, have a long-term time horizon, and learn how to take pain. And when there is pain, you buy more. Unless something changes the thesis that suddenly we're all going to turn into Neanderthals and nobody's going to use technology ever again, it is going up. It's as simple as that. And unless something changes, that we're not breaking the financial system and that the internet has disappeared, we will go to blockchain technology. It's as simple as that. That's all you need to know. Everything else is just fucking noise.